Hello, welcome to our fourth in our series on screenwriting with Karel Segers. Hello, Karel.
Hi, Phil.
Now, last time we talked about
goals
for your character. Let's get a bit more nitty-gritty. I've heard it said that character is more important than plot, or plot is more important than character. What is it?
Yeah, when people tell me that they're not so much interested in, movies with lots of action and movement, but more about characters.
Art films.
Well, yeah, but when this person is a filmmaker or a screenwriter, then I go, okay, that means that they probably don't understand quite how it works. Because how do you get to show character? Tell me, how do you get to show character? But just have someone sit there? No. By have someone talk there and tell you about them? No, because you won't believe them, you won't trust them.
So how do we reveal character?
Through action, through what they do. When a character says something on the screen, you will naturally doubt that. You will mistrust that character. You will mistrust what they say. Because the essence of screen drama is that characters act in contradiction with what they say. There's a subtle conflict, there's tension between what we see visually, what we hear. So
which is subtext, which is going to get to it in a bit more detail later on.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So how do we learn about a character? Through what the character does. We call that actions. So when we say action, we don't necessarily mean violence or speed. It's just what a character does.
The stuff that they do.
Yeah, the behavior.
And that defines the plot, basically, then.
That defines the character. That defines who they are. Then? Well, it's the same thing. That's the big con. When people try to teach you character, they're not. They're teaching how to write action that will reveal character. Because there's no difference between the two types of film. When you have a film that doesn't have character, you probably don't have the right action. That's just how it is. And then you have a lot of talky films, and maybe Woody Allen's movies are slightly different. If you only have talk, then it's like you can switch the image off because it's like radio.
But I would argue that you can still have a very talky scene, very verbose scene, but there's action in that talk. This is actually an acting technique.
Well, Woody Allen has proven himself wrong in that respect. He started his most successful movie with dialogue over black, and it was working just as well as the scenes that were visual. And it's Midnight in Paris. Midnight in Paris starts with dialogue over black, and it's in no way different from all his other dialogue. Woody Allen is actually a radio maker. You haven't thought about that.
He's making radio drama.
You can perfectly switch the image off. It's probably the most successful filmmaker among the blind.
Because you could also say the same of like Tarantino, who has some very long dialogue scenes in his films.
It's true, but I think there's a lot of action there.
Exactly. Yeah. Just because it's two people talking, like right now, there's a lot of action going on.
And the key scenes, the key moments in Tarantino's movies are visual. They're kinetic. There's movement, there's action.
And that's action.
Yeah.
But the kind of action we're talking about here is basically a conflict of some kind.
What people do, what characters do, You get to know someone by what they do, not by what they say. Because they'll say one thing and they'll do another. I mean, look at a failed marriage,
So if character is defined by what they do, by the actions that they take, and that basically is your plot, you're saying there's no difference really.
There's no difference.
So plot is simply character. Character is plot.
Yeah, it's true. So
is not plot the sequence of actions over the course of your story?
That's right. But in order to show how a character changes or develops, you need to lay out that action in a particular way, in a meaningful way, right?
Which is their goal.
That's right, exactly. And that shows the importance of the goals. But what I'm saying is that in order to make that character credible and not random, there needs to be a certain logic, an emotional logic to what they do and how they do it and how it's laid out over your story. I usually use, unfortunately, an Australian film as an example of a character we don't understand because the actions don't make sense. It is Somersault. Somersault is a beautiful film in terms of the way it was, executed. It was wonderfully photographed and great
beautiful music score.
Wonderful and great performances. However, the actions of the main character don't make any sense.
I found when I saw that film, it's like, okay, I've never been a teenage girl, run away from home, so I can't relate. But that doesn't mean I shouldn't be able to relate to her. And spoiler alert,
I've never been a serial killer, but I relate to a lot of serial killers.
The end of that film is like, why did she do all that when she just, you know, she didn't fulfill a goal. There didn't seem to be a goal in that case.
But even
and that was the film, and that's a film that went through a lot of writing development.
Yes.
It was highly praised for the New South Wales Film and Television Office, you know, the funding and everything that they went through, the screenwriting, what was it, the workshops that they had.
The
Aurora workshops. And as you say, beautiful and well made in every other respect, but I must agree, I found it a boring film, I'm sorry.
But unfortunately, Phil, nobody really cares about our opinion, right? But the film didn't work. It was selected into a side section of the Cannes Film Festival, and here in Australia then, you know, it went to Cannes, but it didn't go anywhere. People didn't see it, you know. Outside Australia, where it was hyped more than any other film, no one went to see it, and those who did gave very bad word of mouth. And it was just because of the actions didn't make sense. There was no logic, there was no emotional logic.
And there are other examples in Australian films that are like this, that seem to fail, and people ask, why aren't they working?
Yeah.
And we would say, well...
It is because people don't understand that character equals plot. In order to show a character in a relatable way, in a way that people can understand, you need to put meaning in the succession, the events, the way a character acts.
Actions that make sense for that character, that lead to a clearly defined goal for that character, and get that right, bang, you've got a plot, you've got a story.
And that then will reveal who that character is. That will reveal the true character that we see on the screen, right? So only then does it make meaning and does it make sense at the end of the film.
So what would you say, just to finish up, what would you say about some of these big Hollywood blockbusters which seem to be plot, 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 not much character, it's just action, 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 like physical action, that drives this story forward to defeating the Transformer robots or whatever it might be, and the characters are pretty immemorable.
Well, there are obviously there's a whole range of films that are thriving on the kinetic action, I'll call it. But the real breakthrough, or the ones that really break through the $1 billion mark, they're usually character-driven.
Like the Avengers.
As in, there the actions do make sense and reveal what these characters are about. Avengers, Dark Knight, Avatar.
Even the new Star Trek, which we talked about.
All the Pixar movies. These are blockbusters that break through the ceiling that the more kinetic action movies can't.
Because there's still character at the heart of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Despite all of
the actions show a change in the character.
Okay, so character is the most important thing. Character is plot, according to Karel.
Therefore, plot is just as important as character.
Thank you, Karel Segers. Join us next time in our next episode on this series of screenwriting with Karel Segers.